Sihr, commonly known as black magic, is defined in Islamic theology as a real, tangible influence achieved through the assistance of the Jinn, or spiritual entities. It is not merely psychological suggestion or sleight of hand, but a genuine alteration of reality affecting the victim's body, mind, or relationships. The Quran confirms the reality of Sihr, referencing the angels Harut and Marut, who taught magic as a test, emphasizing that its power is strictly limited by the permission of God. The sorcerer acts as a conduit, leveraging the jinn's ability to traverse dimensions and influence the physical world, often targeting the victim's spiritual defenses. This interaction forms the basis of all magical harm, distinguishing Sihr from simple illusion. The jinn are the operational force, executing the sorcerer's malicious intent. The jinn are creatures created from smokeless fire, possessing free will and existing in a parallel dimension. A sorcerer, or Sihr, establishes a pact with specific rebellious jinn, known as Shayateen, or devils. This contract requires the Sihr to commit acts of major disbelief, or Kufr, and blasphemy, in exchange for spiritual servitude. The jinn demand the sorcerer abandon monotheism and submit to their demands, often requiring desecration of the Quran or direct worship of the jinn. In return, the jinn agree to carry out the sorcerer's malicious commands, often traveling vast distances instantly to deliver the magical effect. The severity of the magic often correlates directly with the severity of the blasphemy committed by the Sihr to gain the jinn's obedience.
The prerequisite for effective Sihr is the sorcerer's complete spiritual degradation, ensuring absolute loyalty to the devils. To gain the highest level of jinn obedience, the Sihr must demonstrate extreme disrespect for sacred texts and rituals. Common acts include writing Quranic verses with impure substances, reciting supplications backward, or performing ritual sacrifices to the jinn instead of God. These actions strip the sorcerer of divine protection, allowing the Shayateen to operate through them without hindrance. Islamic jurisprudence classifies the practice of Sihr as Kufr akbar, or major disbelief, which places the practitioner outside the fold of Islam. Historically, the punishment for a confirmed sorcerer in an Islamic state was death, due to the immense societal harm caused by their practice. Sihr is typically applied through a physical medium that acts as a focal point for the jinn's influence. These mediums include knotted strings, hair, fingernail clippings, or personal items belonging to the victim. The sorcerer recites incantations over these objects, binding the jinn to them and directing their action. The jinn then use this object to target the victim, often by placing the object in a hidden location, such as buried in a graveyard, thrown into a well, or concealed within the victim's home. Sihr can also be administered internally, mixed into food or drink, which allows the jinn to settle directly within the victim's body, often in the stomach or bloodstream, causing chronic illness or psychological distress. Finding and destroying this physical medium is often essential for a complete cure.
Once the Sihr is activated, the jinn begin their assault by targeting the victim's spiritual and physical well-being simultaneously. Psychological effects often manifest as extreme paranoia, sudden irrational hatred towards loved ones, or debilitating depression and anxiety. Physically, the victim may experience unexplained chronic pain, infertility, or symptoms resembling severe medical conditions that doctors cannot diagnose. The jinn primarily seek to disrupt the victim's relationship with God, making prayer difficult, causing aversion to the Quran, or inducing forgetfulness regarding religious duties. The goal is always separation from spouse, family, health, or faith. The jinn exploit existing emotional and spiritual weaknesses, amplifying negative emotions and creating false perceptions to achieve the sorcerer's goal. The most common form of Sihr is Sihr at-Tafreeq, or separation magic, designed specifically to cause divorce or severe discord between spouses, family members, or business partners. The jinn make the victim perceive their spouse as ugly, repulsive, or hateful, leading to irrational arguments and eventual separation without logical cause. Another prevalent type is Sihr al-Maradh, or illness magic, which causes the victim to suffer from debilitating, often migratory pain, seizures, or paralysis that medical science cannot explain. Sihr at-Takhil, or illusion magic, causes the victim to see things that are not real, such as ropes appearing as snakes, or to imagine they have performed an action when they have not. Each type requires a specific set of incantations and materials tailored to the desired malicious outcome.
Protection against sihr relies on strengthening one's spiritual defenses, creating a barrier the jinn cannot penetrate. The most effective proactive measure is maintaining the daily prescribed supplications, known as adhkar, particularly those recited upon waking, before sleeping, and after prayers. Reciting the last 3 chapters of the Quran, Surah Al-Ikhlas, Surah Al-Falaq, and Surah An-Nas, 3 times in the morning and evening is a confirmed shield against all harm. Consuming 7 ajwa dates in the morning is also believed to provide protection against poison and magic for that day, based on prophetic tradition. Consistent adherence to prayer, avoiding major sins, and maintaining ritual purity reduces the jinn's ability to gain access to the individual's spiritual space. Once sihr is confirmed, the prescribed treatment is Ruqyah ash-Shariyah, which is spiritual healing through the recitation of specific verses of the Quran and authentic prophetic supplications. Ruqyah is performed by a righteous individual, often directly onto the victim or into water or oil used for bathing and consumption. The verses recited are primarily those related to God's power, the destruction of falsehood, and the expulsion of the devils, such as Ayat al-Kursi and the verses of Sihr from Surah Al-A'raf, Yunus, and Taha. The recitation acts as a spiritual fire, weakening the jinn bound to the magic and forcing them to leave the victim's body. The effectiveness of Ruqyah depends entirely on the reciter's sincerity and the victim's faith and patience. The most complete cure involves locating and destroying the physical material used by the sorcerer, if possible. If the object, such as knotted strings or buried talismans, is found, the reciter performs Ruqyah over it. The knots must be untied one by one while reciting the protective chapters of the Quran, specifically Surah Al-Falaq. Once the knots are untied and the incantations are nullified by the Quranic recitation, the object must be burned or destroyed completely to prevent the jinn from rebinding to it. If the sihr was consumed, the treatment focuses on inducing vomiting or using specific herbal remedies combined with Ruqyah water to expel the material from the stomach. The spiritual battle continues until the jinn are expelled and the victim's spiritual defenses are fully restored through consistent adherence to prayer and remembrance of God. It is essential to distinguish sihr from the evil eye, or ayn, as the mechanisms differ significantly. Sihr requires a sorcerer, a contract with jinn, and a physical medium. The evil eye, however, is caused by intense, malicious envy or admiration emanating directly from a human being, whether intentional or unintentional. The effect of the evil eye is immediate and does not necessarily require jinn involvement, although jinn can sometimes amplify its effect. The treatment for the evil eye involves specific supplications, and in some cases washing the affected person with water used by the person who cast the eye. While both sihr and ayn cause harm, sihr is classified as a deliberate act of kufr, whereas the evil eye is a natural, albeit harmful, consequence of human envy, requiring different specific countermeasures.